Well, hello there, fellow veterans and your family members. Hopefully, everybody's doing good with all the bad weather we've been getting. Man, who turned up the furnace this summer, man? I tell you, hope y'all staying hydrated, staying in cool places. If you're unable, if you, let me rephrase that. If you're homeless, if you're a veteran that's homeless, go to a shelter, man. Don't stay out in this heat. Go to a shelter, get some water, get some food. Stay off them streets, man. It's just way too freaking hot out there right now. And then if you're in the area where they're having all these extremely bad thunderstorms and downpours and torrential rainfall and flooding, another reason to go to a shelter. All right. Hey, we got a lot of issues and topics and everything to cover today. Got some anniversaries coming up. Got some major news that happened within the last few days. So let's go ahead and get the show started. All right, hey yeah, everybody. Hey, for all of you who only get the audio, my name is Tim Hauser. I'm also known as the Gulf War Advocate. For some reason or another. And this is the Veteran Central podcast presented by Veterans Insurance Network. We'll get to them later on in the show. But like I said, there's some anniversaries coming up that's important to veterans and their families. And there's some major news that broke in the last few days that we're going to cover today. So the first one, we're going to cover an anniversary first. First one is this. It's the 1-year anniversary of the Veterans Crisis Line updating their number to 988. Then press 1. Guaranteed to get a human. All right. Guaranteed to talk to a licensed counselor. You do not need to be to the point where you're thinking of killing yourself or hurting someone else. If your depression is that bad, to where you could swing that way, down 988. If you just need somebody to talk to because you're just down 988. But yeah, it's the 1-year anniversary. And I tell you what, this has made some big strides. And I'll tell you why. Before it used to be 1-800 so-and-so's, way too long of a phone number. Then you had to press a button to try to get to a counselor. Most of the time you got a message asking you to please hold. Now, if you're that down, you're not holding for anybody. So they made some major strides in the Veterans Crisis Line for the better. All right. And since we're bringing up the crisis line, there is a veterans issue that is very close to me, as a lot of you know, and that is veteran suicide. So I've been doing some research. Now, I know the VA here lately has been saying that the number has dropped down to 17 a day. Even President Biden said that in the State of the Union, which I called out bullshit on that. The reason I'm calling bullshit is because doing research for this segment, the only information that the VA has released to the public on veteran suicide are numbers from 2020. You can't get any more recent than that. All right. Here, let me put up some numbers here for you. These are how many suicides or veteran suicides each state has had in the year 2020. It's 2023, people. Give me a break. VA, you need to do better than this. Matter of fact, all 50 states, including Puerto Rico, need to report this sooner. That's my opinion. If it's 2023, we should not be getting numbers from 2020. We should be getting 2022. When are we going to get 2022 and 2025? In the way the veterans have been treated lately, I don't think 17 is the number. I think it's even higher than 22 now. We've got all these bases that have been contaminated and making veterans and their families sick. A lot of veterans and their family members have died because of this contamination. Who knows how many veterans committed suicide because of this? But those are the numbers from 2020. And some more stuff. Now, in the year 2020, there were 38,152 reported suicides in this country. Out of that number, 6,146 supposed veteran suicides. All right. I think that's a large number. But something tells me it's more than that. Some other information here. Yeah, 6,146. A big drop from 2018. Big drop. But still. Let me bring up this next one here. Now, as you can see, a lot more male veterans are committing suicide compared to female veterans. Not sure why. But in the last several years, that number has been dropping for female veterans as well. Pretty big drop. Still, that's still one too many veteran suicides a year. And last slide on this. All right. This is what's really getting me. This is the percentage of veteran suicides within the first year of separation from the military. And this only goes to 2019. I couldn't find for 2020. 47.8% of all veteran suicides in the year of 2019 were within the first year of separation. Now, there's another statistic that I want to show, state. This I'm bringing up because I think it's important on why this is happening within the first year of separation. Active military suicides jumped from 75 suicides in the first quarter in 2022 to 94 in the first quarter of 2023. Air Force and Army suicides jumped drastically. Navy suicides dropped. Army, Air Force increased. Marines dropped a little bit. Not very much, just a few. But what's the Navy doing that's helping bring these numbers down? So I don't know what's going on with the Air Force and the Army, but Somebody needs to look into that, because I think this is carrying over to why we're having so many suicides within the first year of separation. Something to think about. Could there be something done while members are still on active duty to help prevent suicides once they separate from the military? You know, the chat line is open, so if you're watching live, go ahead and type a question or a comment or anything in the chat, and let's broaden this discussion some more. You know, one of the things that I like about what the VA is doing lately to help curb veteran suicide is they're opening up what's called vet centers throughout the country. They are run by the VA, but you do not need to be in the VA system in order to use the vet center. Now, what vet centers are is a more relaxed atmosphere for counseling. Any veteran can walk into a vet center and say, hey, I need to talk to somebody. There are licensed counselors at every vet center. Matter of fact, let me see if I can Google how late they're open. Because I think this is a very good idea. They provide counseling for free. You do not need to be in the VA system in order to get counseling there. All right. I just brought up the vet center eligibility. Any veterans and current service members, including members of the National Guard and Reserve components, are eligible if any of the following applies. Have served on active military duty in any combat theater or area of hostility. Experienced a military sexual trauma. Provided mortuary services or direct emergent medical care to treat the casualties of war while serving on active military duty. Performed as a member of an unmanned aerial vehicle crew that provided direct support to operations in a combat theater or area of hostility. Accessed care at a vet center prior to January 2nd, 2013 as a Vietnam-era veteran. Served on active military duty in response to a national emergency or major disaster declared by president or under orders of the governor or chief executive of the state. Are a current or former member of the Coast Guard who participated in a drug interdiction operation, regardless of the location. Are a current member of the reserve component assigned to a military command in a drilling status, including active reserves, who has a behavioral health condition or psychological trauma related to military service that adversely affects quality of life or adjustment to civilian life. Any veteran or service member pursuing a course of education using covered educational assistance benefits is eligible if they have a readjustment counseling need that is related to the individual's military service and hinders the individual's adjustment to either their civilian life, ongoing military service, or educational settings. Now, here's another good thing. Their services also is available to family members when their participation would support the growth and goals of the veteran or service member. They also offer bereavement services for family members of a veteran who was receiving vet center services at the time of the veteran's death, to families of service members who've died while serving on active duty, and to family members of veterans of service members who died by suicide. Now, not finding what their hours are. We'll find it. All right. Up the one in Parma Heights, Ohio. It's open from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Mondays, 7:30 open to 7:30 p.m. Tuesdays, 4:30 p.m. Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. They're open at 7 a.m. on Fridays, closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So they, at least a couple of nights, they're open longer than regular VA hours. And it's a more relaxed atmosphere. It's not in a hospital. It's, I guess the counseling rooms are more like a living room setting, make you more relaxed. Now I understand a lot of you veterans out there don't want nothing to do with the VA. I get it. You hear the horror stories. You might have had a horror story or two with your dealings with the VA. But from what I'm hearing, it's no worse than any other hospital across the country. And I'm going to put this out there, and I might get some flack for saying this, but if you've never used the VA system and you're one saying, "Hey, I don't trust the VA," bullshit. All right, you can't complain about the VA unless you've used their services. Now, one of the things that I'm finding too in my research on veteran suicide is there are several states that have stopped reporting veteran suicide. So maybe that's why we can only get to 2020. Supposedly Ohio, my home state's one of them, and I'm working on getting that changed. Now, one of the things that slides I didn't, I decided not to put up here was methods that are being used by veterans. One thing I am going to say is the number one method is by firearms. I'm going to plead with all my brothers and sisters. If you own guns, which I know a lot of you do, and your depression is starting to get the best of you, please have a loved one, lock up your guns until you're more on your feet. We don't want to lose you. This is why I'm bringing this up, folks. Some of you know my story, and for some of you who don't, those that don't, my brother Dennis, who's a Vietnam and Gulf War veteran, decided to take his own life 22 years ago this past Christmas Eve. I've been trying whatever I can since then to try to bring those numbers down, try to educate people on veteran suicide awareness. One good new program by the VA that started on January 17th of this year. If you are a veteran, regardless if you're in the VA system or not, if you feel like you're going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, you can go to any medical facility in this country and say, "Hey, I need help. I think I'm going to hurt myself or somebody else." The VA is going to pick up the tab. Once they get you admitted into the hospital or whatever treatment facility or treatment program, or they are to contact the VA, and the VA will take care of your bill for this. But I think the way we're going to help bring these numbers down So if we start looking out for each other. I know there's a lot going on in this country and in this world, and it's putting people at sides. Let's drop that. We're all veterans. We're all family. We're brothers and we're sisters. We need to look out for each other. If your battle buddy is hurting and you know they're hurting, talk to them. Urge them to get some counseling. Urge them to get some help. Urge them to take a time out. Be by their side more than you usually are. We as veterans, we need to take care of each other better than we do. All right. Now, there's a second anniversary that's coming up. On August 10th of this year, the PACT Act, whose full name is the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act. If you were in Vietnam, it gives you more benefits. It gives you, for those of you who served in like Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, Guam, you now can get benefits for your exposure to Agent Orange. It's about freaking time. Way overdue. If you were in Desert Storm and you have, first let's back up just a minute here before I start going on to that. What the PACT Act does is it provides benefits for certain illnesses, and there's quite a few of them that they link to Agent Orange, burn pits, oil well fires. There's all kinds of cancers, all kinds of pulmonary diseases, and gastrointestinal diseases and illnesses that are covered under the PACT Act. Go to va.gov. As soon as you log in, it's going to bring up a link to the PACT Act. It's going to list every single presumptive illness. Now, if you have one of those illnesses and you served in Vietnam, the Gulf War, Iran, Iraq, and a couple other places, everything's listed right there on va.gov. You will get approved for benefits for those illnesses. All right. Now, it expands and extends eligibility for VA healthcare for veterans with toxic exposures and veterans of Vietnam, Gulf War, and post 9/11 eras. Adds 20 plus more presumptive conditions for burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic exposures. Adds more presumptive exposure locations for Agent Orange and radiation. Requires VA to provide a toxic exposure screening to every veteran enrolled in VA healthcare. Hey, if you're not getting those screenings when you go in to see your primary care doctor or when you check in and they go to take your blood pressure and weigh you and tell you how fat you are, get a hold of me. All right. I'll post my email in the description. They are supposed to be doing that to everybody. Now, where I go in Akron, they started it, they stopped it. I don't know why. I talked to the administrator of the Akron Clinic in Ohio, say, hey, you need to start doing this again. Never got it in Cleveland. Talk to the administrative office up there, still ain't doing it. So if you're not getting that screening, it's I think it's about 10 questions. All right. So they do it while they're supposed to be doing it while they're taking your blood pressure and they weigh you. So now the PACT Act also helps us improve research, staff education, which is extremely important. That staff education. I don't know why nobody at the VA knew what the PACT Act was while I was advocating for it, along with Rosie and Leroy Torres, John Field and John Stewart, and the rest of you fantastic folks with Burn Pits 360. I love you all. But damn, these doctors should have been learning about this that entire time. I remember one time when I was hospitalized while we were still advocating for the bill. They had, I go to Lewis Stokes VA hospital up in Cleveland most of the time. And that's where I get hospitalized at. Case Western Reserve Medical School is just around the block on Wade Oval there in Cleveland. So they bring a lot of students over there to walk around with the doctors. And I'll never forget this young man. Doctor, goes over everything, and the doctor says, "Hey, anybody got any questions?" This young man, without any hesitation, he goes, "Sir, may I ask if you were exposed to anything while you were in the military?" And this was a student of a college that the VA has nothing to do with except let them follow doctors around on their rounds. There's still a lot of doctors at the VA that don't know what the PACT Act is. VA, you need to start doing better. Okay. Now, the PACT Act also improves treatment related to toxic exposures. I gotta laugh at that because you're failing at educating your staff. So how is that going to improve treatment to us veterans? Now, here's a big major part of this bill. If you are a veteran or survivor, you can file claims now to apply for PACT Act related benefits. I'm going to highlight that word survivor. If you are a widow of a veteran that would have gotten benefits through the PACT Act, you can file claims now and help get PACT Act related benefits. Now, here's a little catch. I wouldn't say a catch. I think this is actually something that I'm not sure who authorized this, but I am so very fucking glad they did. When we heard this, a lot of us from Burn Pits 360, along with a lot of other people, were invited to the signing of the bill. While Secretary of the VA, McDonough, was giving his speech, he stated that they were going to backdate claims to the day the bill was signed into law. But it was only going to be for a year. Then it goes back to they're going to backdate your claim to the date you filed or your intent, you submitted your intent to file. So if you can get your claim or your intent to file filed by August 9th of this year, it will automatically be backdated to August 10th of 2022, the day President Biden signed that bill. I don't know why a lot of you are waiting on this, or you just aren't going to follow or file under the PACT Act. let me see where we're at as far as numbers are concerned. According to the VA, as of April 26th of this year, so it's a little bit behind, 500,000 claims have been filed for toxic exposure related benefits. People, this is affecting 3 million veterans, and only 500,000 claims have been filed. So what's holding you all up? Get those claims filed. Get what is justly yours. You earned it. Don't let nobody tell you these are handouts, because they're not. You earned it. Now, with this in mind, with 500,000 claims filed, the VA has awarded more than $1 billion in earned benefits to veterans and survivors who filed PACT Act related claims. Let me repeat that again. VA has awarded more than $1 billion in earned benefits to veterans and survivors who filed PACT Act related claims. $1 billion in earned benefits to veterans and survivors. Y'all earned this. File those claims, people. Now, one thing too is you need to put a little trust in the system, please. If you won't file the claims for yourself, file them for your family. Your spouse and your kids deserve to be taken care of too. Yeah, I'm getting mad. Come on, quit being stubborn, veterans. Get off your asses and get these files claimed. Now, there's some stuff going on in the world right now. Happened over in Korea. Let me pull up his info here. Private Second Class Travis King, stationed in South Korea, decided just the other day he was going to cross over into North Korea willingly. Matter of fact, Defense Secretary Austin stated King willfully and without authorization entered North Korea. I guess video that shows that he ran across that border for some reason. Now, while I was researching this, and I was debating if I was going to talk about this or not. But I think we do need to talk about this. Because at the beginning of the show, if you remember, I brought up the numbers for active duty military suicides, how the numbers are going up. The reason I'm bringing this up is, let me put that picture back up there. I want people to know who this kid is. Something's going on. Is it because they lowered the requirements to enlist into the military? Is it because society's become too soft? Is it? I don't know. But King recently was released from a South Korean prison. I guess he did 50 days. For assaulting a South Korean national at a nightclub. I guess while they were arresting him for that assault, he started kicking South Korean police cruiser, causing major damage to the cruiser. So he was fined something like $50,000 and put in prison for 50 days. He was released, like a week ago? When he was upon his release here a few days ago, they took him to the airport to put him on a plane to come back to the States to face further punishment. He never made it on the plane. This is what made me decide to go ahead and talk about this. They knew he was a troublemaker. He just got out of prison, a South Korean prison, for assault. Guess he had received some punishment for some stuff he had done on base too, but I'm not going to concentrate on that too much. So they knew they were aware that he knew he was going to face further punishment once he returned back to the States. Nobody made sure he got on that airplane. They dropped him off the airplane, see him check in at the desk. And once they left, he left the airport. He jumped onto a tour bus that was going to go tour the DMZ. And that's where he crossed over into North Korea. The tour was right there, looking at all those light blue buildings that they hold their conferences and their meetings at. And the border's clearly marked. And one tourist was taking pictures, and he was standing behind King. So he's got a good picture of King before he ran over. And I guess somebody else got a video. I have not seen the video, but from the description that I read is he ran as fast as he can to get across that border. Now, I don't know how y'all feel about this, because I guess our government's trying to get him back. If North Korea gives him up, I feel the man needs to be charged with desertion and not let out of Leavenworth. Now, for all of you who are only getting audio on like Apple and Spotify and all that, I've got his picture up on the screen here for those that are viewing the video, which you can view on YouTube as well. His mom said she was surprised that he did this. His uncle stating something about a family member dying, and this really just upset him, and that's why, and he's just lashing out because of that. Defecting to a communist country because a family member died makes me wonder what else is going on inside his head. Leave me your, since nobody wants to chat with me tonight, leave comments in the comment blocks on YouTube and let me know how you feel about this. I, for one, am just wondering what's going on. Do I hope he comes back? If he comes back, like I said, he better be charged with desertion and not let out of Leavenworth. But this also brings us back to our original topic on veteran suicide. The stigma of going to counseling while on active duty or as a veteran needs to stop. It's causing problems beyond the initial problems of why veterans are committing suicide. When we were on active duty, if we knew somebody was going to counseling, rumors went around, harassments happened. It makes others who may not be dealing too well not want to seek help. So it's got to stop. And that's where us as veterans need to take care of each other better than we do. We need to treat every one of us better. Yeah, that didn't come out right now, did it? We got to treat each of us better. Yeah, leave your comments. I want to know how people feel about this, because I for one think there's other issues going on, not just with this kid, but with others. And I mean, he could have thought this out before he ran across that border. He could have sought help. He could have owned up to his responsibilities, came back and faced his punishments. That's how I feel. And since he didn't do that and he had to go and defect, throw the book at him if you get him back. I know North Korea is not going to let this one go too easily. But now, the last topic here is have any of you ever gone to a nonprofit or an organization, not necessarily asking for handouts, but saying, hey, look, I need some help. Lost my job because of this or that. Having a hard time putting food on the table. It's causing family problems. I'm just not coping right. I need some assistance. I need some aid. And you go to a nonprofit or an organization and they say, I'm sorry, we don't provide services like that. Then they put you out the door. So now you're like, damn, these people are supposed to be helping veterans, but they're not. They're not helping me. So now you're wondering, like, should I even seek help through a nonprofit anymore? Should I just deal with it on my own? Or, I'm hearing that this happens quite often. Yeah, most nonprofits specialize in one certain type of service or aid. And I'm hoping that they relay that information to the veteran when they're in the office there. Now, when you do go to a nonprofit as a veteran or a family member and they say, no, we can't help you, do you ask if they know who can? And if you do, are they telling you who can? Or are they telling you they don't know? Well, there's a nonprofit out there. It's new, recently started up, recently starting helping to help veterans. And it's called Veterans Assurance Network. They're the ones who present this podcast. And I'm very grateful for that because it's helping to extend my platform. Because as you know, I like to advocate for my fellow veterans and their families on many issues. The Veterans Assurance Network supports me, not financially, but emotionally, supports me in this. Hopefully one day, now, hey, financially, hey, well, we won't go there. But during my work with Burn Pits 360, I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of people, a lot of good people, a lot of people that are running nonprofits. Some of them are huge, nationally known. Some of them are very small that hardly anybody knows about. And these smaller nonprofits are the ones that I'm going to be talking about the most during these next 15 or so minutes. They are doing some fantastic work. Helping people with helping veterans and their family members deal with PTSD, depression, pain management. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that in a second. Financial aid, taking you out of your safety zone to deal with your demons. All kinds of nonprofits out there doing some fantastic work. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of these big national nonprofits are doing good work too. But the reason I'm talking about these smaller ones is because if you go to one of the larger ones and they say, I'm sorry, we can't help you, we don't provide that service, they're not telling you about these smaller ones that can. That's right. I'm calling all you big national ones out. Get mad at me. But here's the thing, people. The reason I stopped, folks, for those of you that are just listening and not being able to see the video, I put on the bottom of the screen, I put in stop veteran suicide. That's an issue that I'm going to be working on for a long time. Probably till the day I die. But I'm going to come straight out and say it. I'm the founder of Veterans Assurance Network, and I want to help my fellow veterans and your family members as much as possible. I heard too many stories as recently as yesterday that a veteran or a family member went to a nonprofit and asked for help. We're told that nonprofit didn't offer those types of services, and they did not offer to tell them who could help them. Happens every day. I know it does. So what we're doing at Veterans Insurance Network is we are forming a network with other nonprofits. So if you come into Veterans Insurance Network and saying, hey, I need this certain type of aid or I need this certain type of help, we're not going to turn you away at all. Matter of fact, we're going to give you options on who can help you. If we don't provide that service that you're looking for, we're going to help you get in contact with the ones that do. We're going to stay with you throughout that process until they get you into their programs. Matter of fact, our motto is no veteran turned away. And we mean that. I mean that. I made a promise at the very first press conference I got to speak at that I will do whatever is in my power to make sure a veteran doesn't go through what I went through. It took me 25 years to get my VA benefits. I have been turned down by nonprofits. I've been turned down by other organizations saying we don't provide those services, and they couldn't tell me who did. That's why we're forming this network. You know, so instead of you wasting all your time on the internet trying to find somebody who can help you, making all these phone calls and getting turned down, getting more depressed, getting more upset, getting frustrated beyond freaking belief, give us a call at Veterans Insurance Network. We're going to put the email address and we're going to put the website address, the URL, in the description. So those of you who are listening to this and not being able to see the screen, because I just put up the email address for Veterans Insurance Network up on the screen. All right. It's going to be in the description. So go to the description when you're done listening, and there will be the email address. Now, not only are we forming this network with other absolutely awesome, fine, hard-working nonprofits, we also want to help veterans who are on home oxygen, like I am. I don't need my oxygen all the time. I take my pulse ox throughout the day. If it's in the safe range, then I don't wear the oxygen so it doesn't cause other problems. But there was a very fine gentleman who, I got to tell this from the beginning, so you understand why I want to help supply. I want to help these veterans on home oxygen and why. There was a gentleman who saw a Facebook post of mine when I first found out that that my claim was finally approved at the VA. I was finally going to get compensation and other benefits. And this was due to my exposure. I didn't file under every claim I ever filed under Gulf War illness or syndrome. It's been denied. Just like a lot of you out there too. Well, I was posting about my exposure to not only oil well fires during the Gulf War, but burn pits and stuff like that, and how I finally got my benefits. And I got a message that night from a very fine gentleman who I considered a brother for life, a friend for life, a family member for life. His name's Kevin Hensley from Michigan. Some of you might know who he is due to his advocacy work for the PACT Act and for hyperbaric chamber treatments. That man is a god when it comes to hyperbaric chamber treatment advocacy. The man is making people look into that big time. So big props out there for Kevin Hensley in that. Well, he messaged me on Facebook, and this is exactly how this message went. It says, "Give me a call." Next message, "It will change your life." Next message, his phone number. So I'm telling my wife this because we're getting ready to go to bed, and because it was an emotional day, I was drained due to happiness, and plus the kid had to get up and go to school next day. So we were getting ready to go to bed, and my wife says, "Call him. What's he going to do? Stalk you?" So I called him, and he told me his story. And he told me he was part of Burn Pits 360. And he told me how wonderful Rosie Torres and Leroy Torres were, and how John Stewart and John Feel of the Feel Good Foundation was helping us. And oh yeah, the John Stewart I'm talking about is the comedian on TV. And trust me, what you see on TV when he's talking politics and all that, that's exactly how he is in real life. The man is nothing but passion. But they asked me if I want to help advocate for the PACT Act. So I asked them how much it was going to cost me to join. Most nonprofits out there and veteran organizations, they charge a fee, which Veterans Insurance Network will never charge a veteran or a family member at all, period, for anything. All our services are free. But the thing is, he said, you just got to pay for your trips to Washington, D.C. when they need you there. And we go quite often. So first trip came up, and they asked me if I could go. Well, I was on home oxygen full time because I recently had a lung biopsy, and it messed up my lungs bad to where I couldn't maintain a healthy oxygen level. So I says, well, I can't go because I don't have a portable oxygen concentrator. I just got tanks. So they says, well, get a hold of your insurance company. I says, I go, everything I do is through the VA. I don't have private insurance. I go through the VA. It's all I can afford. So that trip passed. Several days later, I get a package in the mail. It came from New Jersey. And I'm like, yeah, I got family members in New Jersey. That's where I was born. But they'd let me know they were sending me something. So I open it up. Here's a note. And it says, Tim, thank you for becoming a member of Burn Pits 360. We appreciate you and everything you're going to help us do. And this is my personal portable oxygen concentrator. I have another one. I don't need to use this one. Please use this so you can come to Washington, D.C. with us. Signed, Joe McKay. As Joe knows, he's now a family member for life. So not only did Burn Pits 360 give me a platform to speak and talk and for my fellow veterans, but gave me some self-esteem back. A lot of self-esteem. But what that portable oxygen concentrator did was give me my life back. I was able to become mobile again. I didn't have to lug around a big, huge canister of oxygen everywhere I went. I was going to be able to travel because I wouldn't have to worry about if I was going to be able to find oxygen tanks where I was going, or if I was going to have to load up 150 of them in the trunk of my car. Joe McKay and his portable oxygen concentrator gave me my life back because my wife knows once they put me on that oxygen, my depression hit bad. So thank you, Joe. And I want my fellow veterans that are on home oxygen to feel the same way I did. So if you know a veteran, or if you are a veteran who is on home oxygen and all you have are those tanks and you want to get your mobility back to where you can travel, you can go visit people in another state and not worry about having enough oxygen with you, contact Veterans Assurance Network. We will help you get a portable oxygen concentrator. All right. And for folks out there, like I said, we do not charge a fee to our veterans or their family members. We operate solely on donations. So if you think you can stand behind a Veterans Assurance Network and what we do, and you would like to donate, you can send a check or money order to Veterans Assurance Network, P.O. Box 159, Twinsburg, Ohio 44087, or you can go onto the website. The website will be in the description, and you can donate on the website. You can use a credit card on the website. But on that note, folks, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you checking in on Veteran Central Podcast. Helped me feel good about myself to be able to do this, so I appreciate you all. And once again, if you are a veteran that is so confused about what's going on as far as nonprofits and organizations go, who can give you aid and who can't, and who will and who won't, contact us here at Veterans Assurance Network. We'll help you out. So I want to thank you all again. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my rant. And hey, stay cool out there. Stay dry where it's raining. And we'll see you next week. Which, by the way, our guest next week will be Kevin Simon from the Gulf War Side Effect podcast. Kevin's becoming a friend of mine, and all we want to do is help our fellow veterans. This is more focused on Gulf War, where I'm focused on all veterans. You didn't even need to be in a war. Give us a call. We'll help you. All right. So until then, we'll see you next week, folks.